Hey, welcome to the Hell Has an Exit podcast. I'm your host, Brian Alzate. This show is not affiliated with any specific 12-step program. If you or a loved one is struggling with an addiction, please find a local 12-step meeting. If you believe you may need detox or drug treatment of any kind, please call 888-699-9395 to speak to a specialist. The show is sponsored by United Recovery Project, a state-of-the-art drug and alcohol rehab facility. You can visit our website at unitedrecoveryproject.com. Hey, welcome to Hell Has an Exit. I'm your host, Brian Alzate. Today I have Berta R with me. Berta, how long you been clean?
15 years.
Wow, 15 years. Congrats. That's what's up.
Thank you.
So where you from?
Born and raised in Miami.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what's your story?
So my story begins as a child in Miami, getting kidnapped. I guess kindergarten. My parents had took me to register me for kindergarten.
Wow, you got kidnapped?
I got kidnapped. So my parents are Cuban.
Mm-hmm.
They came from Cuba, and they didn't speak English. So they were registering me. The story has never been told to me. Like, my mother never admitted what happened, but it did. So I can't tell you, like, after or before, but I got kidnapped. Kindergarten till 4th grade by a secret society of men, and I was sold in sex trade.
Wow.
So I became an addict at the age of 4 because we were injected cocaine. So
Holy cow.
So we could have sex all day and perform.
Oh, that's crazy.
So I was not the only one in the cages at the time.
They kept you guys in cages?
6, 7, 8 sometimes. No Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I was, but they didn't know. Everybody was from different countries, so we couldn't communicate.
But this was in Miami?
In Miami.
Oh my God.
Yes,
And they would put you with other kids that didn't speak your language?
Yes. So they sent us to school and to learn English. So in the 4th grade, my menstrual cycle came on.
Mm-hmm.
And I had bled before because, of course, there was rough sex, but it wouldn't stop, and I didn't know. So when I got to class that day, I was crying.
Wait, they sent you to school like with other regular kids?
Yeah.
And you were
To learn English.
To learn English, and you were
Yep.
imprisoned in a sex trafficking ring?
Yep. And they would send us to learn English. So I don't know if they paid the people off, what connection, but we would go to school for a brief time. And this time, I had been to school like 4 years, on and off.
Mm-hmm.
My cycle came on. And I was crying, and the teacher asked me, and she was from Sweden. I always remember her name was Miss Schufer. She said, "What's the matter?" And I was like, "I'm bleeding." And she said, "Where's your mommy?" And I was like, "I don't know."
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "You know what? 4 years ago, I had a student with the same last name." And that was dumb. Like, they used my name, right?
Like your real name?
My real name. She said, "I think you're her sister," because they used to say, "I have an American sister, and we don't know what happened to her."
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "I can't help you." Mind you, back then, they didn't have social work. They didn't have truant officers. I am 65 years old, so I'm talking about 60s, 59, 60s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "I can't help you, but you can tell them you're American." And I was like, okay. So when I got back to the place, I told him I was an American.
Mm-hmm.
And the man's eyes got that big. Like, it was fear saying, and I felt so good. I felt so powerful. Yeah. And they burned the facility and put us in crocus sacks, potato sacks, and took us to the Miami River to try to kill us and threw us in the river.
Mm-hmm.
There was a freighter, a ship. Some guys were fishing, and they hooked us out. Me being the oldest one at the time that had been there the longest, I got paranoid, and I jumped back in the river and escaped.
How long were you there for?
And the sex trafficking? Like 4 years, almost 4 years.
From 4 to 8?
From kindergarten to 4th grade.
Wow. It like blows my mind because like I know this goes on, but like you don't really hear much about it. Wow.
So then I escaped and with 2 other guys, 2 little dudes, and we stayed like, if you know where the Miami River is in Miami, and there's a bridge the bridge opens on 17th Avenue, and there's a park, and we like slept under that bridge because we didn't know. Eventually, I can't remember days, weeks, they got caught somewhere, and I didn't see them, and I stayed on the streets maybe a year, a little bit more. So I would steal clothes off clothesline, food at the store, stuff like that. I met a older man that was he would look out for me. And I still had trust issues. So I wouldn't, he would put food or he would put clothes, and him and his wife. And then one day he had left me like a shotgun, because I wouldn't. So I never had shot it, never used it. Eventually, I got returned to my parents. So I went back to my parents. At that time,
did you explain to them what happened? Or were you just like not verbal about it?
To my parents?
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't permitted to talk about it because our culture, like Spanish culture, the machista, like your men ran it. That didn't happen. It didn't exist. You're not allowed to talk about it to your siblings. And that's how it was. Like, the rule in my father's house was children didn't talk until the rooster pee. And the rooster doesn't pee. He shits. So he does. I watched the rooster 2 days.
Wow.
He doesn't pee. So, I couldn't talk about it. I wasn't allowed to talk about it. At that time, I have 3 brothers and a sister, and I had 4 cousins. My mom raised her sister's kids because her sister stayed in Cuba to fight Castro, so it was 9. At that time, my siblings, I have a brother that's 12 and one's 11 years older than me, had came from Vietnam. I still was like boyish. I knew I didn't like men. I didn't like really nothing. So I guess he had this idea in his head that he was going to change me. So if he fucked me, I wasn't going to be gay, that he was going to fuck the gayness out of me. That happened for a little while. I didn't tell my parents because they weren't going to believe me. They didn't let me talk about nothing before. So I ran away when I was 13, 14. Stayed in school, saw the man that ran the sex trade.
Wow, you ran into him?
Saw him, followed him on a bicycle.
Wow.
Went to his house, slept in the bushes. I wanted to see if that monster had a kid, or how could you do kids like that? And I went back because I still had that shotgun. Like, I always had it. I buried it. And when I got the shotgun, came back next morning, went to shoot him. It broke my jaw.
Oh, wow. The shotgun?
I had the click back there.
Yeah.
I had never shot it. It was sawed off. So
wow.
I just wanted them dead. You know, I had so much anger and hatred. I was arrested, and I was sentenced to 30 years for attempt murder.
Did you shoot him?
No, it didn't even hit the tree, the house, and nothing.
Wow.
So I went to prison as a juvenile. I was one of the youngest juveniles in Florida prison.
Did you tell the police I wanted to kill him because of X, Y, and Z? Like, what did you say?
They didn't believe me.
Wow.
I was an immigrant to them. I was not an American, Saw my parents, and parents couldn't afford a lawyer.
Yeah. So, oh, my God.
So I got screwed. I went to prison. In prison, I went to Max Up Security in Florida. Not a nice prison. The Black Widow was there with other crews. Blanco, and a lot of other women. So in prison, Maximum Security, at that time, a lot of illegal things. The cartel ran it, the gangs. So.
And you were 13?
By the time I got to prison, they kept me in jail till I turned 15. And then they sent me to prison. So I was 14. I stayed in jail. I went to prison at 15. And then they started doing a lot of things, like letting us go out of the compound. They would put you as, like, I had a murder charge, but they made me medium and then minimum. Because at that time, the cartel wanted women to look like they were Spanish because they were doing a lot of illegal things. Like they were sending women to Colombia, they were sending women to Cuba and bringing back drugs. And like you were supposed to be on this.
So I guess the more Spanish you looked, the easier it'd be to go in between.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, they didn't want blonde hair, blue eyes because that's
look like you're trafficking.
Yeah, alert, police. You're like, what are they doing here? There was a couple of us at that minute. It was like 6 or 7. And we learned either how to make it, transport it from there. I learned how to fly airplanes
Wow.
because I didn't want to. I learned how to make it too, but I wasn't going to go there. And
So this is so crazy to me. So wait, you're 15 years old in prison,
yeah,
and they're allowing you to leave prison, and the cartel is paying off guards or something?
so what's going on is you're going to work outside the facility.
Yeah, like a work release program.
Right. So you're going before work release, you're still, if you're minimum, you get to go 8-10 hours and go off.
Uh-huh.
And then you come back. And then eventually when they, like you said, work release, when they put you on work release, you're not in the prison, but you're still in the,
Like a compound, yeah.
Right. And you get to leave because you get to go to work and then you get permission. So yeah, they're paying somebody off. Mm-hmm. They're either paying the guards.
And and you flew to Colombia
during the time that I was incarcerated.
And they were teaching you how to make coke and how to transport it, and then you even learned how to fly planes.
Yes, all those things.
You would fly Cessna planes?
Excuse me?
You flew Cessna planes?
Plane I flew. If you look at one of the cartel movies, Pablo Escobar has a zoo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where he has that plane
That
above
zebra, that's one of the planes
Wow.
that we flew. And then, let me see, I did 10 years. I worked for them, got out of prison, continued working for them. The whole time I was in prison, it was rough because, like, the things you did, even though that you flew for the cartels, you worked for the cartel, some guards didn't care. They try to rape you, abuse you, take advantage of you.
These are the guards.
The guards. Mm-hmm. So while I was in prison, and I had refused to go back out there. I said, I don't want to do this anymore. So you can't refuse. So they were going to try to like put fear in me and put me in confinement. Mm-hmm. And while I was in confinement, one of the guards came down there and told me that I was going to suck his private. Mm-hmm. And like I try to beg and say, look, man, I've been abused. This happened and that happened. And he said, fuck that, you're going to do it. So when he maced me and I was wiping, all I could hear was the zipper. Mm-hmm. When he pulled the shit out, I grabbed it and I bit it off.
Wow.
And I got another 10 years on top of that.
Oh my God. You bit it off?
The whole thing. I was going to wear it. Hey, I was going to wear it. I was going to put a pin on it and wear that motherfucker.
Oh my God. He maced you and you bit his dick off.
His ball off.
His ball? Oh my God.
Yeah, so then I got...
Like once you think you heard it all, it's just good.
I got 10 years and they kept me in confinement 372 days.
Wow, you got 10 more years for that.
Mm-hmm. Against a law enforcement officer. And they moved him. They kept me in confinement for 372 days, and I ate peas and carrots. That's what they fed me, peas and carrots. I remember my father coming to see me. It was like I was on drugs because when I got out of confinement, I was like peas and carrots, and I was real pale. So I was like, I ain't on no damn drugs. Then I got out of prison, continued to, the whole time I was clean. So I had to go back to, when I went to prison, I cold turkey. Before I went to prison, I asked the judge. So I got clean when I was like 15, even though I was an addict very young. And the whole time I maintained clean, even though I, made cocaine and all that I didn't use. It's hard once you're in the life, you can't get out. Like they ain't gonna let you out because you're access to them, Mm-hmm. And then I got rearrested in 86, and I got the RICO Act, which is the minimum mandatory, the bitch law in Florida. Mm-hmm. I got sentenced to 55 years, 25 mandatory.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I was kind of like smart at that time because I knew that they lied on the stand. And when they lied on the stand, I got a private detective, and I paid him. Mm-hmm. So I didn't serve the whole 25 years. I got called back.
And what was the 25? What were you getting charged with?
Conspiracy to traffic cocaine, possession cocaine, manufacturing cocaine, which is the RICO Act, which is the worst.
Yeah.
Worst charge in Florida. And I was, me and a woman that was my girlfriend at the time, which she died in 98 from alcoholism. We both got sentenced, and her son.
Were you using at this time?
Nope.
Still clean?
Still clean. I stayed clean for like almost 25 years.
Wow.
Then I relapsed. Yeah.
And you were just caught up in the lifestyle?
Caught up in the lifestyle. Like, at that time, like, I suffered the disease of addiction, so it's not the drug, it's my behavior.
Yeah, of course.
So I was chasing women and money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I said, well, when I make $1 million, I'm going to stop. When I make $2 million, I'm going to stop.
You were making that much money? How old were you?
Let me see, I'm 65 now, so in the 80s, I was in my 20s, and I already had $1 million.
You had $1 million in cash?
When they arrested me, I was worth 20-something million.
20-something million?
Yeah.
What'd you do with all the money?
So when I got arrested in 1986, the feds came in there and they walked all over. Like, they found $250,000 worth of jewelry, no drugs. And he said, we're going to take your house, we're going to take your money. They found like $180,000 cash that I had in the house. $250,000 worth of jewelry, which most of them were kilo bars of gold. Back then you could buy gold and it was easier to go to the bank and cash.
Yeah.
You could just say, I just want my money, you know. And then if you were buying product, you didn't have to count 100,000, 200,000. You just gave them a kilo of gold or two, and it was, you know, you knew how much it weighed. So you weighed it and knew
that's
it.
And
It was very simple. So they took that. I had 7 vehicles. They took the house. The money was buried, so they didn't get it. And then I went to jail. I stayed in jail with no bond. When I got a bond, it was a ransom, $1 million. I got arrested in Duval. And the whole time, the whole year, I had a guy following, confidential informant, but it was an officer.
Okay.
So he said I sold 3 keys in Fort Lauderdale Airport, which at that time I never had been in Fort Lauderdale Airport. I never flew in Fort Lauderdale. I flew out of Orlando, Miami.
So you were buying your own coke and flying your own coke?
At the time, I didn't have to fly it anymore because, like, I wasn't
But that's
flying.
how it started.
Yeah, it started with me flying, and then I didn't have to fly. Like, one of the guys fell in love with me, and then, I helped him get connected to this Cuban dude, and then every time they hooked up, they'll throw me one or throw me 2.
Okay.
At that time, if they throw me one, I could cut it and make 30 out of one. That's how raw it was.
30 keys?
30 keys out of one, because that was like, you could just eat the line. So, so I didn't have to do nothing, like, you know, for a while. I didn't have to sell it. People were selling it for me. I didn't put my hands on it anymore. And then I got arrested. I got called back to court because I had a good lawyer. And the lawyer showed where the confidential informant that said that on so-and-so date, I sold him this product. He happened to be in Dominican Republic at his best friend's wedding. So
he lied on the stand.
Lied on the stand. I had already took the time, so all they could do to help me, which I thought they were helping me, the judge habitualized me, which he gave me the worse than the RICO, and told me to do 4 more years. So I ended up doing, like, in all my life, I probably done did like 20-something years, right? I did the time, came out.
What was, like, prison life like?
Not bad, but it could be, like, because you had women, then you had guards. So if you just stayed out the way, it was okay. But, like, you know, just like you hear Orange Black, they rape women, guards rape women. At that time, they had changed the law where men could come in the door. Like, if we were butt naked or whatever, men were allowed to come in the door. They had men guards, you know. And, of course, it was maximum security. And then I was sentenced to, when I got sentenced, then they had me up in by Mississippi and Alabama. The states had me up there, and then they closed that camp because too many women were trying to kill themselves because it used to be a men's camp, and the guards were real hard. So they closed that one down. They sent us to another camp in Ocala, and they closed that one down. So it was like, at that time, for me, I don't think, at the beginning it was hard. But then I became institutionalized. I stayed out of the limelight. I stayed out the way of the guards and, like, the murderers, or, like, you had to fight, of course. Like, I got stabbed. I got stabbed by a can of oysters because a girl said, give me that. And I said, I'm going to give you a goddamn, you know, what am I going to eat? And then she stabbed me, and I burned her, like, with the water. I burned her to a pink meat. And then if you play crazy, they leave you alone. So I burnt this girl. I started another one, and they left me alone. So that was prison life. I came home. I didn't want that life. So the question everybody asks is, you know, how did you get out of it? So when I came home, I had a best friend of mine, which he died from alcoholism after doing 17 years in prison, came home and died. He worked for the Cuban cartel. He wanted me to fly his family to the Cayman Islands and stuff, and he was doing the deal. And I remember he told me, pick this guy up and bring him to my house. And I was like, I didn't like the guy. So I didn't bring him to his house. I stopped in Miami and got him a hotel room. And then he was like, well, why you didn't bring my friend? I was like, you don't even know him, man. He's your friend? I said, he's the police. And I bet you he's the police. I feel he's the police. Well, anyway, he flew him to the Cayman Islands with him. And at that time, the guy that had arrested me prior happened to be there. Like, he was an agent, you know, and FBI agents, they move, and DEA agents, like from Miami to Jacksonville. I told him, I said, that's them. And he was like, no, you're paranoid. I was like, okay. So my friend and his friend, which was Cuban at that time, I had just met, he was like, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to get off the island? And there was a helicopter that lands on the water. And I was like, go get on the helicopter. He said, you know how to fly one? I was like, just go get on it. I had never flew a helicopter.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's totally different than a plane.
Oh, yeah. But it took me 4 or 5 times to get it up.
And you figured it out?
I figured it out and went from Cayman, just had to fly it over to the Bimini, you know, they're real close. Landed in the water and we got away. But eventually, like 2 weeks later, they arrested him. But like the Cuban dude had his son there and I got his son out. So they like tried to give me a lot of money. And I was like, I don't want no money. I just want freedom. I don't want to fly nothing no more. I don't want nothing. I don't want nothing. Just leave me alone. I saved your life. I didn't have to tell y'all motherfuckers nothing. I could have got on that shit by myself. The Cuban dude said, you know, y'all let her go. I didn't have to do anything else with them. They had sent me to a work lease in Jacksonville. So I stayed in Jacksonville like 20 years. Worked, tried to live right and everything. And then wasn't using, was working for a food company that sent produce to Cuba. And I just did forklifts.
Okay.
So I used to be a forklift driver. Just cool. Was the only girl, like,
Chilling.
you know, and working. And then my sister called me one day and told me that my dad was dying and he wanted to see me. And I got on a train, and when I got on the train, I had issues. I had mommy issues. I hated my mom. Because my mom never explained what happened to me. Why was I the youngest girl out of 4 girls, out of 9 kids, the only one that got raped, abused, and all that? So I want to know, did you hate me because I was gay or because that wasn't my father? Because when I was 13, my grandmother told me that wasn't my father. So I hated her. And now, mind you, I had to catch this train, and my mom wasn't there. So I was mad. I was like, oh, fuck. I knew if it was my brother, she would have been there. And I was like, I hated her. Like, I really hated my mom. And so I was so mad that I didn't pay no attention to my back. And like, and this dude walked up on me. Little dude looked like a little choir boy, a church boy. And he was like, let me get a cigarette. And I had a cigarette behind me. And I was like, I ain't got no motherfucking cigarettes. He was like, you got one by your ear. I said, it's my motherfuckers. Like, get the fuck out. And I didn't pay attention to him. He walked behind me and put a knife. And he was a serial rapist. I just said, oh, Lord Jesus, please, like, you know, don't let me get HIV, don't let him kill me. He made a wrong turn. We started fighting. Like, he turned, and for a second, I was like, I got him. You know, I could beat him. But then when I had him, he got a pistol. So now I really can't beat him because I can't eat bullets, you know. I ain't Superman and all that and spit them out. So he did whatever he had to do. He shot me in the leg, stabbed me in the head. I got 100-something stitches.
Wow.
And I went to report it to the police. I walked, like, to the substation. So if anybody knows Miami, the Amtrak station on 79th Street, and there's a substation. And it was a sub-police station, like a couple of blocks on 79th Street where the flea market was with the swap shop. So it's around 11:30, I guess, in the office. I'm bleeding, but he doesn't say have a seat or anything. He was like, what's the matter? And I was like, you know, I just got raped. I was getting on the train. I don't remember maybe if I was gabbling or he thought I was crazy or something. He asked me my name, and I gave him my name. So, of course, when he looks up my jacket, murder, drug, boo, 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 boo. He said, oh, you just smoked some bad crack.
Wow.
I was like, I ain't never smoked no crack before in my life. And he put me in a holding cell for like 7 hours. And in 7 hours.
With a bullet wound?
In my leg.
Oh, my God.
And stabbed, bleeding. No toilet paper, nothing, treated. And so I got into feeling sorry for me, being on the pity pot, not thinking about a program, not thinking about calling anybody, just mad and angry, playing the victim, because I played the victim all my life. I could do that real good. You know, I blamed everything. I blamed prison. I blamed my mom. I blamed my brother. About 7 hours, like it was like, I guess 8 in the morning. And he was like, I'm so sorry, you're free to go. Where did an addict like me go mad? And I had a bracelet. I remember having a Cuban link bracelet. I went in the dope hole, asked somebody did I have ID. The boy said, you the police? I said, no. I said, I'm going to make your day today. Going to the pawn shop. Pawned my bracelet, got some dope, got money to go to the hotel, got some bleach, stayed in there, shot the dope. And
you had never done drugs before this?
no, I did drugs.
Oh, okay.
Remember, I was addicted when I was young.
Oh, okay.
And
so
I was addicted when I was young, and I stayed.
So you always remembered that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I had started shooting dope on my own when I was like 13, 14, 15. Angry with my mom, hanging with the wrong people. And then I stopped. Like I cold turkey going to prison because I didn't want to be a dope fiend. And the judge gave me 2 weeks off, like, you know, before coming back.
So you were shooting dope at 13, 14. And then you got clean once you started hustling and then went to prison.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I relapsed. So after I relapsed, I, you know, went and got some dope. I went to the hospital. I wasn't going to tell them about the bullet, which I didn't, because then they were going to send me right back. Bitch, if I got a bullet, you know, crime, going back to jail. I got stitched. Doctors told the nurse, come here, you can see her brain. My father was dying. I got cleaned up, got to see my father, got to bury my father. And then I just said, got the case of the fuck it, because my father was the only man I ever loved. Like, I loved my father. I was a daddy's girl. Like, I had a house in Jacksonville. I had cars. I had animals and pets, and I went on a run. Like, for 2003, my clean date is December 27, 2005. So almost 2 years. I became homeless. Everything that the girls in prison used to tell me, those not yets, like, oh, you're going to do this and you're going to do that. I'm like, I ain't never do that when I was getting out the first time. Like, I hadn't been homeless. I hadn't sold my body, shot dope, like with dirty water, toilet water and all that. So that's what happened. And I became homeless. I started selling my body, everything. Like, I went from sugar to shit. I lost every goddamn thing. And then I realized that I was an addict, that I suffered the disease of addiction. The only reason I went to treatment was when I gave blood, when my father was sick at the hospital, everybody donated blood, my whole family. And they found out that I had hepatitis. And then my cousin is a hepatologist. So he had said, cuz, you know, you got hepatitis C, you got cancer, you're going to die. And I'm like, what the fuck? But at the time, I was still homeless.
Cancer too?
Yeah, so I was so I was still homeless, and like I wasn't really ready to fucking stop because I was like, I'm gonna die anyway. So what the fuck? But I remember being homeless and sleeping on the streets, and there used to be like a group of us, 4 or 5 of us. And this particular day, like in Miami, they have a thing they call green shirts. People come around and ask you, do you want treatment? Do you want to go to the program? This particular day, they kept telling us, y'all be careful because we're finding a lot of vets and homeless people with organs missing. Like the black market was hitting on people in Miami back then in 2002, 2003, taking their organs. And I was like, they just trying to scare us. They just want us to go to treatment. They full of shit. You know, addicts big. So a couple of days later, we were on 17th Street and 7th Avenue by Jackson Hospital sleeping. And we used to eat from the nuns. And I remember laying on this girl, waking up, pushing her, telling her, wake up. You know, we got to go eat. And looking at her, and somebody surgically removed her eyes. So I was like, all of like panic, like, when did that happen? How come we didn't feel it? So, like, we kind of figured out, like, that night when people, like, they have people that come and bring you food, like trucks and give you food. And we had been eating off them trucks, and it was never Italian food. It was funny, that night.
It was Italian food?
Italian food. It was pasta and all that, and bread and all. So they had to put something in the food because all us did
Were
not.
knocked out?
And everybody that day went to the shelter or treatment. And I ended up in treatment. Like, I went, it was December.
Wow, so this girl died and they killed her, right?
Yeah, they took her eyes.
And they took her eyes?
Do you know that we were right down the street
God.
from Bassman and Palmer is one of the famous eye clinics in Miami on 17th Street. We were right on 17th. Like, we were 2 blocks from that hospital.
Wow.
And somebody took her eyes. So it was almost Christmas Day, and I went to You had to go to central intake in Miami if you don't have insurance. And the lady said, well, we're closed. It's going to be the holidays. And I'm like, look, man, shelter's full. I need treatment. And she was like, I don't have a bed. Next morning she came and she was like, you're still here? And I said, I need a bed. Like, I'm begging for a bed. And she said, you have anywhere you could go for a couple of days? And I called my sister, and I stayed with my sister. They called me. The last time I got high was Christmas Eve, but I don't use that as my clean date or Christmas. She called me the day after Christmas and told me that they had a bed. And I was 3 days clean, and I went to treatment December 27th. That was the first time I had the PE clean. So that's what I used my clean date, December 27th. I forgot to say that I had heard about the program in prison. Of course, they had AA meetings and H&I, but I never could relate to being an alcoholic because I'm not an alcoholic. So I didn't care nothing about meetings back then in the 70s. And then I went to treatment, and I stayed in treatment 7 months. I was so, wanted to know what the disease of addiction was because, I never thought I was an addict because I didn't pick up the drugs. I was introduced to drugs, and I was forced to do drugs as a kid at 4. Then I picked them up, sure, at 13, but I was like, I'm not an addict because I stopped on my own. I went to prison, and I never used them again. But I realized that, I suffered the disease of addiction. I am an addict, I stayed in treatment 7 months. I followed all the suggestions. I went to a halfway house. I lived in the halfway house 10 years. In those 10 years I stayed there, I went to school. My degree is substance abuse disorder, and my bachelor's is human service addiction studies. And
what inspired you to go to school?
I was so going to treatment and hearing people's stories. And then I had two therapists, one from New York, a female and a male. One was in recovery, and he had a lot of time, and his drug of choice was heroin, like mine. And he was like, you suffer disease and got a story, but you need to, you want to know about it. Because I used to ask questions. He said, why don't you go to school? And I was like, I'm old. The fuck I'm going to do at fucking school, yo? I went to prison when there was 8 tracks, and I come out and there's not even a cassette. I don't know about pages. I don't know about none of that shit. I was in prison. I didn't even know about the goddamn computer. I didn't even know what a damn email was. So I was like, what the fuck? I was scared. I was scared to go to school. Going to meetings and hearing other addicts say, yeah, I went to school. I didn't know, so you could do it. Shit, you flew planes, you did this and you did that. Go to school.
Yeah, you didn't know how to fly a helicopter.
So I was like, okay. And I remember being scared and asking questions. I had to take a computer class. I remember my nephew wanted to be a nurse, so he went. We're going to school, and so the teacher was like, simple. Just don't be scared of it, And I was like, man, this shit ain't doing what it's supposed to be doing. I used to cry.
Oh, my God.
And you had to take it to go to college. Everybody has to take a computer class. So, and I was on academic. It's funny because I was on academic probation because when I went to jail, they let us study at Miami-Dade, through a program. We would go. And since I was in there 2 years, so I had registered to go to school, but I didn't go to school. I went to 2 classes and stuff. So they held that against me. They had me on academic probation from 70 something. So I couldn't fail his class. And he was like, I said, look, professor, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm scared of this, I don't know it, but I can't fail your class. I said, I'm gonna come to your class. And he said, my little nephew said, why don't you tell him you're trying to put the boo game on him? I said, I've been to prison, man. I've been to prison for murder. So I need a goddamn A. So I did get an A.
What were you scared of?
I came every day. He gave me an A. So he gave me an A. But I think the coolest thing that when I was in school, when I was going to FAU, because I got my bachelor's.
Oh, that's so cool.
From Florida Atlantic University. But I went to Miami-Dade downtown, and then I graduated, and then I went to FAU. So I wanted to be a smart addict. By then I'm working stuff and everything. And I was a criminal, so now I want to major in criminology. That was my minor. And I had to take classes on, the scheduling of the drugs and different classes on the cartel. And I was like, oh, that'd be interesting. So I'm going to take that class. And I took this class, and it was like God doing for me like what I couldn't do for myself, and then, I needed to see this man again. So I remember English is not my first language, and I remember the feds that busted me in '86 told me that I was a very good adversary, and he was like, "You're a very good adversary," and I was like, "What the fuck you call me?" Because I didn't know what an adversary meant. So time had passed, and I was taking this class, first day of class, and the professor was like, I want to know if you're a junior, a senior, what's your major? I want to know your name. And I was sitting in the back. It was like 40-something classmates.
Yeah.
So, and the man kept looking at me. I was like, I didn't remember him because years had passed. Now it's 2016, so count the years from '86 to 2000. So I was like, why is this man looking at me like that? So he's like, Miss Rote, Berta, you're chapter 6, Colombian cartel. And you could tell your classmates all about it later. And I was like, what the fuck?
Wow.
So
He was the guy who arrested you?
the guy that was arrested me, DEA agent, had quit, retired, and became a teacher.
Wow.
So an adjunct professor, as they call him. And after class, I said, listen, who are you? He said, I'm going to give you one guess. I was like, I can't guess. And he was like, adversary. I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, my God.
And he was like, why did you retire? You were making a lot of money. I said, why are you retired?
Oh, my God.
So he told me that after he arrested me, that he had the worst or the heinous crime. They sent him to Russia to arrest the Russian mob because they had sold the United States distilleries of vodka that weren't vodka, that was air-conditioned fluid that we put in our country's distillery in the 80s, and it killed a lot of, innocent human beings. So, and then we became friends.
And that's why he retired?
That's why he retired. He said, that was heinous. That how could they sell all, a lot of people died, like innocent people, people were drinking that had graduated or, a birthday.
Celebrating, whatever.
Yeah, and it was air-conditioned fluid in our distilleries, and a lot of people died. So he said, he didn't want to do it no more. That's like back when I was growing up, liquor was brown or white, clear or dark. Then in the 80s, you started seeing colors and that was the mob started that, like the Russian mob. So I stayed clean. Like I said, I got 15 years clean. I graduated in 2017.
Wow.
Let me see. I've been working in treatment 13 years.
13 years you've been working in treatment? So, it kind of seems when you tell your story like you just found the rooms and just got clean, Like, what was that first year like? How important, because, you talk about working steps and stuff, and, like, I want to, like, stress the importance of, like, getting a sponsor and working the steps,
Okay, so I always tell, since I work in treatment, I always say I earned my chair. Like, I earned it. Like, when I went to treatment, I didn't know nothing. And I had been a knucklehead or stubborn. I'm an habitual offender. I've been to prison. I never listened. Like, I never listened to nobody because I wasn't allowed to talk. I didn't have a voice. And, in my house, it was shut the fuck up. You don't say nothing, nothing happened. Even when I got to be an adult, and I still asked my mom what happened. So when I came to treatment, it was like, I remember this man telling me to shut the fuck up, take the cotton out my ear, stick it in my mouth. Oh, man, I'm like, he must don't know who the fuck I am. Like, for real, this man gonna say that? But I did. I shut up. I listened. I took suggestions. They told me, like, I could have went home with my mom and my brother and them, and I was like, why am I going to go to this house? Even though it's mine, why should I go there where it's a trigger? I didn't know what a trigger was. I didn't know nothing, so I went to a halfway house. I also was told that, I saw a friend.
I tell people all the time that go to treatment or whatever, when they get out, I'm like, look, you shouldn't go home. You should go to a halfway house. And they're like, why would I go to... They think a halfway house is for people who don't have a home to go to.
No, it's a halfway house because, like, even though I was institutionalized,
it's that structure. Yeah.
I needed the structure, right? So
the
I went
camaraderie of the other people in the house, the drug testing, the curfew.
Right.
That shit makes a difference.
So I stayed, and it's still there. It's called Better Way to Live, and it's a gated community with 44 apartments, and you can live there forever. And it's that now it's based on your income, but you get drug tested. Randomly drug tested. You have to make 4 in-house meetings. You have to have a sponsor. You have to do all the things that they say. that's where I learned, well, I think that's where I grew up at. Like, I didn't know who I was. Like, if I look at me, like, the drugs did me, even though I thought, like, oh, yeah, I did them and I had to know. The drugs did me and I didn't know who I was. But the drugs weren't my problem. Like, I realized that, yeah, I am an addict. I was born an addict. I suffer a disease, which we know it's a brain disease, but Berta was the problem. Like, I had a lot of issues. Like, I had identity issues. Like, I was born a girl, but I swear I got a dick. You know, like, I'm sorry. I'm Cuban, but I'm not Cuban because they say I'm an American citizen. Back then, we were identified as other, a O. To me, that was a O. So I couldn't speak because of my culture. We weren't allowed to speak because back then women didn't have rights. So I had a lot of issues, what they call core issues, which I didn't know. I ain't never heard none of that, right? I didn't know none of that. And in treatment, I learned that all those problems I needed to work on. Like, I needed to dissect that identity problem. Like, okay, it's okay that, you're born a girl, but if you feel like this, you have the right to feel how you want to feel and identify. And before, I always worried about other people, what they would think about me being accepted and everything. So the steps taught me how to live. The spiritual principles, being honest, all those things that I learned, the steps taught me. Like, the person that's sitting here, if I wouldn't have worked the steps, I wouldn't be here. Like, I wouldn't be here. The steps made me grow up to be a responsible, productive, member of society, a loving, caring person, like a great aunt, or like my nephews say, they got an aunt and an uncle, so they got two in one. A great employee, like a great sponsor, a great friend, loyal, like all those things. I didn't know none of those. Like, the steps taught me.
What was your sponsor like?
I had the greatest sponsor. So I had 2, 3, but the first one, the first ones I always picked was because I wanted a pretty woman, fine woman. So I'm going to be honest, I didn't think about it. I wasn't looking for a sponsor in the first year. So eventually, when I got down to business, I was like, you know what, I really want to do this. Because I had went to a meeting, I saw this girl that I knew when I was homeless. And she was slimy, dirty, everything you could think of. And they even used to call it dirt. Like, she would backstab her mama, like she would tell her mama. And I saw her in a meeting, and she was like, transform.
Yeah.
Like, this beautiful woman had a baby, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck did she do, So I got my chair, and I kind of skid by her, and I called her name. And she was like, yeah, Red, because they used to call me Red, and she said, yeah, it's me. I'm like, what the fuck did you do? She was like, see that shit up there on the fucking thing, them 12 steps? She said, work 'em, and you'll be amazed. I've been fucking amazed. I worked the steps, and, there's nothing like, I love the steps. I believe in the steps. The steps gave me life. The reason I'm here alive, I'm grateful. They told me that a grateful addict would never use, and I'm a grateful addict. Am I cured? Fuck no. Am I perfect? Fuck no. None of that. But, that today that Berta loves Berta. I'm first, I'm second, I'm third. Does life show up? Yeah. But I don't have the desire to use. I have not had the desire to use in over 13 years. I don't think about a drug.
Yeah.
It's the last thing in my mind. I get mad. That's an emotion. I had anger issues. It's what I do with my emotion. But I know how to pick up the phone. I know how to go to a meeting and talk about my shit. I got married in the fellowship. I'm going through a divorce. I go share about that. What my feelings, not they shit, my shit. So that's what recovering the steps have taught me.
I always like to ask people just to hear their feedback. Why do you think some people stay clean and other people don't? Because you've seen it, because, you do this all day.
I think because, people think they're cured, or people think they don't need steps, and people think they don't need the meetings, but they call it fellowship. People go to church to fellowship, but we need the fellowship. We're not cured. There's not a white pill that says you're cured. We need to continue to go to meetings. Doesn't mean you got to go to meetings every day, no. But you need to stay with people that know who we are. When they first made AA,
Yeah.
Like, if you watch his movie, he shows you that took a drunk to discover a drunk, that drunks help one another. So, like, all of us help. Like, you know, we
you
empathize.
can't hide and bullshit us, you know?
No, we know. It's like we know, and it takes one to help one, you know? So that's what we do, you know? You got to stay. You can't just half work the steps or not work the steps, or like, I'm just going to work the steps and that's it. But no, it's not working the steps. It's living them. It's applying them spiritual principles, you know? Do service. Like, I love service. Like, you know, I even like Russell Brand's The Fucking Steps.
Yeah.
So, like, you know,
That's cool.
my favorite one is, you know, help the next poor fucker that walks through the door. You know, so, like, that's what I like doing. Helping others today, not, you know, harm. Pay back, you know, pay forward. Like, you know, I did a lot of wrong. Like, I brought a lot of drugs in this country. Did I hurt a lot of families? Did I destroy a lot of families? Yeah. Numerous. They're nameless because I don't know them. But I had to give back. I had to do. So, you know, I volunteer. I help others. And it's not because of that, because I like to, too. You know, so work steps. Apply them in your life, you know.
Well, thank you so much, Berta. That was an amazing story. I appreciate you coming on the show. Once again, if you guys are listening, you can follow us on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. This show is not affiliated with any specific 12-step program. If you or a loved one is struggling with an addiction, please find a local 12-step meeting. If you believe you may need detox or drug treatment of any kind, please call 888-699-9395 to speak to a specialist. This show is sponsored by United Recovery Project, a state-of-the-art drug and alcohol rehab facility. You can visit our website at unitedrecoveryproject.com.